Hey everyone, welcome to Social Studies today. Just wanted to kick us off today with a little bell ringer to bring us back to what we were talking about before. Question number 1, who were the dictators that rose to power? If you remember, hopefully, give you a second to think. All right, we had Hitler in Germany, we had Mussolini in Italy, and we had Stalin and Lenin that would be in Russia or the USSR or the Soviet Union. The nice thing about that country is every time they got a new leader, they also got a new name. Could you imagine that? Every time we got a new president, we got a new name. Definitely things were a little bit different there. What were these dictators doing in Europe? Well, they were ruling with fear, right? And they were pretty much kind of plotting to try to take over the whole entire world, to be the strongest country ever. And Hitler, which is with Germany, was specifically trying to take over country after country. And the rest of the world was in a depression, so we were kind of looking the other way. We also tried appeasement, which is where we told Hitler, hey, we'll give you this country, just don't do that again. However, that didn't work. So eventually we're going to get the event that starts World War II, which is when Hitler finally invades. Ooh, you got it, Poland. And how is the war going in Europe? Well, if you remember, the war was going pretty rough. Germany is pretty much a powerhouse that is taking over all of Europe. And poor Britain and France are struggling to try to battle Germany. And all the little countries that are around are pretty much just getting taken over by Germany and by Hitler. So today we are going to be talking about what were we doing during this all? Well, just like in World War I, we're going to do the same thing in World War II, which is we are going to try to stay neutral. So by the end of the day today, you should be able to identify the United States' initial response at the start of World War II and identify and describe American steps to remain neutral. So if you remember, neutral means staying out of it, right? When we are neutral, it's a win because we can make lots of money. We can sell to everyone at war. But one thing that we learned from World War I is that when you sell goods, you try not to sell weapons, because if you're selling weapons, it makes it look like you're helping that country. So we just try to sell things that are typically non-war goods at first, but it works out because we're making lots and lots of money. So we really try to remain neutral. If you remember in World War I, we talked about propaganda. Here's some propaganda. This picture right here, keep us out of war, be neutral, right? Very patriotic, got our colors in it, really thinking, let's stay neutral, let's stay out of this. If you could just follow along with me, as tensions rose in Europe, the USA passed a series of laws to keep us out of war. So we're actually going to pass laws that will help us to stay neutral. America had been drawn into World War I when German submarines attacked U.S. ships. Do you remember what those submarines were called? Awesome, U-boats. To prevent this from happening again, we're going to pass what's called the Neutrality Act, which said, listen, Americans, do not travel on ships that are at war because there's a chance they could get blown up and we don't want that to happen to you. Also, we said that we could not sell military goods to countries that were at war because it made it look like we were on one side or the other. And that was our first Neutrality Act. So we're really going to try to stay out of it. Here's a cartoon right here from Dr. Seuss. If you look, you've got Uncle Sam. He's laying in bed having a great night's sleep. He says, what a lucky thing. We've got separate beds. Meanwhile, poor Europe is over there sicker than a dog, and all these countries are falling to Hitler. But we felt that we were safe. And I think a big reason we felt we were safe is because we've got the United States over here, and a whole ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, separated us from Europe. So we could kind of stay out of everything. And I think it gave us this somewhat sense of security that we could kind of be neutral as long as we don't go over there and have Germany blow up our ships again. If you look at this, another cartoon from Dr. Seuss, kind of just showing that we did think we could be neutral. And it shows right here, you've got us on this nice little tree. You've got Hitler over here. And with the Nazi symbol, that's how you know it's him in Germany. And they're pecking down every tree. And what do we say? We say, ho-hum, when he's finished pecking down that last tree, he'll likely be tired. Really, just thinking we were safe from this war. We didn't need to worry about it. We could just stay neutral. So we passed the Neutrality Acts, like we said. And eventually we will also go from the Neutrality Acts to what we call cash and carry, which pretty much says, listen, Great Britain and France, we want to stay out of this war. If you want goods, you need to bring cash to us and you have to carry your stuff away. We're going to stay out of this completely. We really try to maintain neutrality at all costs. But it's pretty hard to stay neutral, and I feel like this cartoon kind of shows that, right? You've got chaos over here, peace over here, the world in the middle, and it's almost like we are just being dragged into this war. It's almost impossible for it to not be a world war. And FDR kind of warns the country like, hey, we're headed towards war, right? So in 1941, we're going to get what's called the Lend-Lease Act, which will end neutrality. And it's where we realize Great Britain and France are in such bad shape that we have to help them. They don't have money to come with the cash and carry anymore, and we literally are going to lend them stuff that they need to win this war. And that's where we become this thing called what we call an arsenal of democracy. So we are going to provide weapons to countries who have democratic governments like us, which would be Britain and France. So that way we can help save the world for democracy is kind of what we're pushing. So key terms for today that we kind of already talked about were neutrality, neutrality acts, cash and carry, lend-lease, and an arsenal for democracy. Real quick, just to kind of recap them, neutrality is, trying not to get involved, staying out of it, not picking sides. The neutrality acts said that we really wouldn't sell anything military-wise to those countries. Cash and carry said, listen, we'll sell stuff to you, but you need to come give us cash and you need to carry it away because we don't want our ships blown up. To eventually we switched to the Lend-Lease, which is where we realize we just have to help and pretty much give them weapons that they need. And that's when we become what they call an arsenal, which means stockpile of weapons for democracy. So we're helping the rest of the world become democratic. So you're going to dive deeper into this fun stuff today. You're going to look at the Neutrality Acts and answer these questions right here that go with it. And then you're going to look at this picture, and if you look, I highlighted this right above it. It's always important that we look at the titles of pictures. It's telling you who exactly is in it. And you'll answer the quick questions that go with it. And then for review today, we're going to complete the below paragraph, and your teachers have given you a nice little paragraph to, you just have to pretty much fill in the blanks. So thanks for tuning in today. We look forward to reading your paragraphs. Keep up the good work.